Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I had the opportunity of heading a delegation this past weekend of 10 senators that went to Paris for the COP21 talks. That's the climate change talks that are taking place in Paris. I was very proud of our delegation, consisting of Senator Whitehouse, Senator Franken, Senator Markey, Senator Merkley, Senator Udall, Senator Shaheen, Senator Coons, Senator Booker, and Senator Schatz. All of us participated in the meetings that took place in Paris. We were impressed that 150 leaders of the world at one time were in Paris to show their support for a successful outcome on climate change and to express their urgency for dealing with these issues. It was, I think, a strong follow-up to the challenge Pope Francis gave all of us as to the moral challenge of our time to protect our planet for future generations. We recognize that our global health is at stake at the meetings in Paris. Whether we're talking about in our own individual states, and I could talk about the people in Smith Island as they see their island disappearing, or the health of the Chesapeake Bay. My colleagues from the western part of this state could talk, western part of this country could talk about the wildfires and what's happening there. In Asia, we see climate migrants as a result of climate change. In Greenland, we see the glaciers disappearing. Every nation is at risk as a result of global climate change. And that's why 150 leaders came to Paris. The objective here is clear. We had a chance to talk to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. He made it clear that our goal should be at a minimum to reduce the increase in warming by 2 degrees Celsius. That's doable. The scientists tell us that we can do it. And if we do, we'll have a healthier planet, we'll create more jobs, and not only America, but the world will be more secure. It was clear that U.S. leadership was critically important to that moment in Paris. President Obama, in getting China and other countries to submit action plans, encouraged now over 180 countries that are participating in the Paris talks to submit their own action plans to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. That represents 97% of the world emitters. As I mentioned, we met with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. We also met with former Vice President Al Gore. I think we all were inspired by his lifelong dedication to this issue. We had a chance to meet with the U.S. lead negotiator, Todd Stern, who updated us on what was happening. We were particularly impressed with Senator Moniz, our Secretary of Energy. He had an earlier announced with other world energy leaders, an innovation initiative, showing how we can use U.S. technology to make it easier for the world to meet their goals on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and at the same time create more jobs here in America. It was an impressive display. We had a chance to meet with local leaders. Mayor Bloomberg convened a summit of mayors. I was proud that my mayor from Baltimore City, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, was there. And my colleagues participated in bilateral meetings with other countries to encourage them to be aggressive in submitting their obligations and how we can follow up and make sure we achieve our goals. It was clear that Paris is heading towards a successful agreement, and it will have the U.S. support. We mentioned our commitment to carry out not just our individual commitment, but to be part of the global agreements in Paris. We pointed out that in 1992, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was ratified by the United States Senate. This is the legal basis for moving forward. We also pointed out that our obligations to comply with our own commitments are controlled by the Clean Air Act, which is the law of our country. We pointed out the actions taken by the Obama administration, and we also pointed out that 69% of Americans agree that we should have a multilateral commitment to reduce our carbon emissions. It was clear to us that working together, that we can have a healthier planet for our children and our grandchildren.